Where's my place? Where's the door? All right.
I'll start. I volunteer. I think that what we have done, you know, we have to look to the future, and what can we do to prevent these situations in the future? We have talked very much about the development permit process, and I think that's the direction that we will be going, but we need the time to be able to do that, and it creates changes to the OCP, so it will take about a year. In the interim, of course, what we have done as a village and as a council, have taken on board an environmental consultant, and that person is there to monitor that site. A couple of weeks ago, we had a very productive meeting. We had the Environment Committee, plus the environmental monitor for the village, plus the people from Pinnacle Ridge, our engineer, and a number of other staff members, all come to kind of an informal forum where we could talk about Pinnacle and where we could go up and visit the site. So the Pinnacle staff actually took us up for a tour of the site and to look at the site and see what was happening right now. Now, Pinnacle has, of course, experienced heavy rain and etc. last winter. We didn't experience any of those problems at that time, and so we're hoping that the site will be locked down for this winter. And that was kind of one of the reasons that we were up there having a look, and Pinnacle was very cooperative. So I'm hoping that that answers your question to some degree.
All right.
Yes, in response to the question, I was up there actually today, just walking around checking the site because I'd never actually seen it. From what the gentleman that was up there doing some work on the pump house was saying today, that the pumping station is 99% completed. He did show us where they had their flood and what was the cause, because I was unaware of what actually caused the flooding that they did have up there. And I think with the environmental consultant that we have taken on the staff, I think we'll be able to proactively eliminate some of these problems that we've had. We're now looking at, from what I understand, the 100-year event type of scenario, and looking at developments that happen on the hillside. So I think we're taking steps from the previous council to address some of the problems that we might have had. The other story that I've heard is that the original developer that went bankrupt had put in inappropriate riprap in the ditching that he had excavated, and that was what plugged up the culverts and caused it to flood.
Anybody else want to respond to that question? Go ahead.
I think one of the things I like to see, we've talked about the OCP review and having, to put that together in the next 2-3 years, hopefully 2 years less. One of the things I'd like to see incorporated within the OCP is both steep slope development and development area permits in order to try to mitigate or avoid some of the problems that we have with environmental problems such as tree cutting, the drainage problems, runoff, and any other areas that are necessary to not only prevent but mitigate these problems.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to respond to this? Go ahead.
I actually live right by Pinnacle Ridge, so I walk the site every morning. And back in 2009, when there was a washout, there was a meeting of council. Hal Weinberg at that point actually pointed out what was part of the problem there, is that if you don't basically already have a development permit process, you can't get these people to even post bonds when they start doing their developments. So you had a situation there where they clear-cut a whole bunch of the stuff. There was a flooding, and the village didn't even have bonds that they could have relied on at that point in time. Now, you come up here, and if you take a look at what's going on in Pinnacle Ridge, you see that basically they've got a road up there, and that they've got a whole bunch of trees. Like there's probably about 60% of the trees are left there. And those are going to be cleared, so you're going to have a whole hillside that's bare up there. And that is what there should be a development permit process in this village on, and there's not. And this council has not moved forward on it at all. We're supposed to trust that it's not moving
One of the comments was just about the hillside being cleared, and I know that our previous Environment Committee worked very hard on a tree retention bylaw, which is going to protect 20% of the trees per lot. So as someone who's also on the Environment Committee right now, I was very happy to be able to meet with the various different parties and stakeholders in this type of development and listen to each of their concerns and also listen to the things that they're trying to do to mitigate some of the problems that we've had in the past. And I think with areas of steep slope development, we're looking at stormwater management, and I know that I was satisfied with some of the information that the developer had given us at that meeting, that they were addressing the stormwater management. I think that we always have to continue to look forward for solutions and to work on policy and continue to improve our policies for environmental protection so that we can have responsible developments and developments that we're proud of. I wasn't happy with what happened up at Pinnacle a few years ago, but I am happy seeing that there's been progress. I think the inclusion of an environmental consultant has been, for our village, as opposed to just the developers providing that consultant, has been a tremendous benefit to our village. And the best part about that is that the costs are actually transferred on to the developers. So it's cost neutral for the village and for residents, but we're actually seeing some environmental benefits. And so I hope on council, if I'm elected to council, that I can continue on with those type of, helping develop those type of policies that are cost neutral to us, but beneficial to the environment and allow us to create for responsible development.
It's very important that we have had some improvements. However, Mawson Creek is still showing signs of stress. We still have heavy siltation that comes down to the hatchery. I have been there, I am there every Sunday, and we still have siltation that is excessive. The fish are not feeding, the filters are plugged. So yes, there has been improvement, but it is not good enough, because every time there is a rain, the silt is high, the turbidity is high. So it's good. It's good that there's improvement, but because of that development, we know that it isn't good enough. So they haven't got the management up to par. So we still need to work on our processes. We still need development permit process, and we need to watch the development on those steep slopes. I'm very proud that we have managed to get some things done, and I want to thank the people that have worked on it, but we're not there yet. And we still are not managing. We have good tree retention bylaw, but there are still infractions. We have to do better, people. This is our village. We have to do better.
The problem that was addressed, and the person asking the question, was when the culvert was plugged, like was mentioned earlier, and the developer got bankrupt, walked away from the site. There was that heavy snowfall that winter, there was a huge amount of rain, the culvert was plugged, and it washed down the hillside and down onto the road. When the new owner took over and started working on the site, our staff required him to repay all the money that was cost the village to fix that. So there will be bonding in place when the development moves forward, and right now we've had 2 winters since that time where there have been no washouts on the Pinnacle Ridge. The Mossop Creek problem, where there has been siltation in the creek, has actually mainly come from a different development. And this development, Pinnacle Ridge, has been shut down every winter since then.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name and your question, and who is directed?
Hi, Brian Rose, and I'll make this a little bit easier. I'm directed only to one candidate. Mayor Piamonte, you're campaigning on the premise of volunteer support and fiscal responsibility. How was the not voting for the Garden Club's $1,000 a year budget expenditure, which in fact, as Tim Laidler had mentioned, costs the village now 5 times that amount, demonstrate volunteer support or fiscal responsibility? Okay.
Let me go back to square one. When we first came in 2008, we were under the gun to have our budget for 2009 done by May 15th. Okay, so we were a brand new council. We unanimously voted for $1,000 for the 2009 year. That was unanimous. Passed. We started our deliberations in September for the 2010 year, which is, and we had also instituted a form that that grant applicants had to fill out to show us what they needed the money for, where the money was going to go, and what they did with the money the year before. Now, I voted against that, but only because at that point we did not have the information to justify giving them. They didn't give us the information we needed. It was not
$1,000 a year in supplies?
I'm talking about $1,000 for 2010. Okay, it was not a final vote because we still had it from September until the end of September was the deadline for applicants to put in the grant application, and we started looking at them, and that was the first cut. Now, that was not a fait accompli. That didn't mean that they would not get the money if they did do what they wanted to do. Of course, they got themselves into a bit of a dither, and they came back and gave us the money. Now, here's the strange thing. Let me finish. The Garden Club returned a $1,000 check to us, which in fact had been signed by me in August of 2009 as acting mayor at the time. For the 2009 year, they didn't even have to return that. That was the money that they had been given unanimously by council.
Now did that have anything to do with you insulting them?
If they had in fact put in one of my responsibilities as a councillor is to make sure that I ask questions, that we know where the money is going to, and that is justified. All we were asking for was justify the expenses or the money that you want, and we still hadn't gotten it in September, but they still had 6 months to do that, okay?
Well, I can say one thing. For my 1 acre lot, it cost me in fertilizer and grass seed alone $500 a year. I can't imagine a village, and I can't imagine the extra supply.
Well, here's a strange thing. In October, they returned the check. This is just an aside. This is nothing to do with the decision. In October, they returned the $1,000 check, which I signed in August. So August, September, October, they never even cashed the check for the 2009 year. Now, that's immaterial. They gave back the wrong.
That sounds like good volunteer support to me.
Pardon?
That sounds like great volunteer support to me. They're not even taking the money.
Okay, that's the last question. It's not a debate, it's a response.
Thank you, Mario.
Next question.
I'd like to just answer that last one as well, just briefly. I'm in a bit of a quandary here because I'm running on the mandate that we should use respect for everybody, but there was a word in the police that we used to use for what I just heard, and to tone it down a bit, we called it horse feathers. What I'm running for in this mandate is to get our volunteers back to work. And if it only takes $1,000 and it saves $5, let's get the garden club back on the ground and get them working.
Robert Scoville, and I think we'll do it to all of them, but it should be quick answers. We're here looking for leaders, and you want our vote to be leaders. 5 of you are going to get that, and you're going to get that chance to prove to us what you can do. We want you to be accountable to us. To get our vote, you must be accountable to us. There's a lot of issues in Anmore that I haven't really heard about. Finance, bylaw, I know that's huge. The environment, steep slope development. There's other issues, lawsuits, Anmore Renewable Energy Foundation. It just kind of disappeared. There's no resolution or anything. There's been nothing communicated. You've not been accountable to us. To be accountable